Okay. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed getting the sense of Ken in those photographs. I've just such an amazing humor that he had. Okay, I've put in the chat box how you can raise your hands if you have a question. And if you put your hand up, I'll try to catch you too. So Pam, if you want to start, we're so glad you're here. You're muted. Oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, those photos brought up many memories, as many of them were in Maine. I met Ken in 1981, and he was eating an apple and telling my husband and I about Maya Baba. And it had a big impact on my life and on my family, my husband, my children. So Ken had tremendous energy, and he was in Maine. He was so good about rounding us all up and getting us together. Maine's a very large state with a sparse population, and we had meetings all over the state. He would have them in different areas so different people could come. He never hesitated to talk about Maya Baba, as you all know, and it was always with great enthusiasm and passion. I forgot my notes. I just realized I forgot my notes, but this is just coming off the top of my head. Peter Lux gave me some family facts. Ken was born in Brooklyn, New York, and lived, that's not it. It's the other one. Oh yeah, no, here it is. Okay, he was born in Brooklyn, New York, June 20th, 1939. The family lived in Brooklyn a while and moved to Queens. Ken's father, Harry, ran a nursery business and sold plants to people who put on their roofs in Manhattan. Kenny and Peter worked in the family business. Ken went to school in Queens and went on to Queens College. In Queens College, he earned good grades and got a scholarship to study his PA in psychology in Indiana University, and he started there in 1961. Barry is sitting next to me. Barry started school at the same time with Ken. Here he is. And they were big buddies, and Ken told Barry about Maya Baba. Barry and I now live with each other. We've both lost our spouses, and we've had a great time in the past few days talking about Ken. Ken was a complex guy with a few idiosyncrasies, as we all know. After he did some teaching when he was at Indiana University, and his first job was in Albany, where Bobby Bernstein met him. He was a clinical psychologist in the psychiatric unit at Albany Medical. This was the 70s, and in Maine, we call it the Great Hippie Rush. The Back to Land movement was being propelled by Helen and Scott Nearing, who lived in Brooklyn, Maine, and everybody was reading their books and moving back to Maine. And Ken bought a piece of land next to Barry Conrich and his wife, and with his wife, Katie Morse. They built a house, and Elia was born in Maine on Ken's 40th birthday. So I love seeing that picture of Ken and his father, because Ken frequently brought Elia to our house when he had visits on the weekend with his son. So Elia and Ken were great company and great visitors. And besides the favorite topic of Maya Baba and economics and social justice and anti-capitalism, Ken did a lot of talking about Elia. And of course, I did a lot of talking about my kids. In Maine, Ken moved around to different areas of Maine and was in private practice and worked for various agencies. As you saw there, he wrote books. I really highly recommend The Avatar of the Tortoise, which I couldn't find. I have 3 copies somewhere in my house. I got to keep looking. That was published in Maine by a Maine Baba person, Connie Levitt, and Connie and Doug were instrumental in publishing that book. We had lots of copies. We thought it was going to be a bestseller. We had a few extra copies and we passed those out at Ken's memorial service. Being with Ken was fun. Most of the time it was fun. We always were talking about Baba. He had tremendous enthusiasm. You probably all remember that when Ken entered your house, he got out his black briefcase. And he said, "Oh, wait till you see what I've got in my briefcase." So we always had the implication about Baba. He had articles.
1 moment, I didn't get that. Could you try again?
God, why is Siri talking? What did I do wrong?
I'm sorry.
Jeez, I don't want to talk to Siri.
That's
Siri,
Ken.
stop. Maybe it's Ken. Yes. It goes to Ken. Anyways, Ken was always greatly enthusiastic, whether he was writing a book on economics, writing a book on Mayor Baba, talking about his son Elia, talking about his travels. One way he entertained us in Maine is he frequently traveled to other Mayor Baba groups. California, Denver, Minnesota. If there was a Baba gathering somewhere, Ken wanted to be there. One of the wonderful things he did in Maine was round us all up and get us to the Northeast gathering. And he always wanted to lead the way, but he frequently got lost. So it's no, it's you turn right here. I know, I remember this. And then we'd all turn right with Ken and go down the wrong road. So we always had wonderful stories to tell about our ventures to the Northeast gatherings. It was really great the way he rounded us all up. We had meetings throughout the state because it's a large state, anywhere from Eastport on the Canadian border, Calais down that way, my house in Orono, Maine, north of Bangor, down to York in the south. And when we had meetings in the southern Maine area, we included the people from New Hampshire. So Ken would call us, get us enthused, say, this is what we're going to talk about. Here's some things I'm going to mail out to you to think about. He would mail us maps. I wrote the maps and people didn't get lost. And the funniest thing was when Elia and I were cleaning out his dad's house, we found one of the maps where we had a meeting at China Lake in central Maine. So we'd spread the meetings out through those states so people could make it. Ken, what else? What did I want to give everybody a chance, but I did want to give a good introduction because he was such a driving force in the Maine group. Monty wrote us letters calling us the Mayher Maniacs. And we liked that title. Ken always had something to read, a topic for discussion. We had wonderful meetings. We had prayers, we had discussions, we had lots of good food, potlucks, and lots of fun schmoozing and talking afterwards. So those are great memories of Ken in Maine. As a friend, he was a wonderful friend. He was loyal, he was generous, he was very generous. In fact, when he passed, he had very little money left. And he was compassionate. He was willing to lend a hand. He was willing to lend an ear. I used his ear a lot. I had many adventures in those days raising an adopted daughter with disabilities, and then I raised her two daughters. Ken was always a willing ear and a wonderful person. My kids enjoyed him coming to the house because he could be very playful with the kids and not just stick to Baba. Through his time in Maine, besides writing books and being active in Baba activities, he also was active in social justice groups and did a lot of work on groups that were advocating for homeless people, poor people, and other social justice areas. So he used his immense energy in many different directions. Well, I'm going to end here, and so everybody gets a turn to talk.
It goes to Peter, doesn't it?
Well, no, Bob, Ruth says who it goes to next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Ruth can say who go. I think we have some people designated to speak, and then it goes to raise your hand.
Yeah, so, I think we'll do Elijah next, just because it, you know, he's Ken's
birthday. Yes, that would be nice.
Okay, cool. Elijah, do you want to go ahead and unmute? There you go.
Sure. How long? What? 5 minutes? What works?
Whatever works for you, sweetheart.
Well,
we have all the time in the world. We're here to celebrate.
Okay. Well, I'll nonetheless. I mean, I don't think I'm likely to go long anyway, but you can stop me if somehow that happens. So I was scrolling through the people that are here. First of all, I'm sorry. Several minutes late. I was sitting at my computer at 11, and for some reason, it kept linking me or looping me back when I tried to get on. I'm not sure what was happening, but I'm sorry about that. And were you all waiting for me? No. Okay, good. All right. So I was scrolling through who's here, and it's really neat to see all these people. So I'm just going to say hi to them one at a time. Pam and Barry, who I just saw, and Jim, and I'm sorry I don't remember your partner's name, but it's nice to see you, Jim, and Bobby, of course. Who put this together, by the way? I mean, was it a group effort? I mean, who do Bobby. I thank for this?
Pretty much Bobby. Yeah.
Pretty much Bobby. I thought so. And I mean, I'm really impressed with this and all the people showing up. It's really touching. So thanks to Bobby.
Pam did a lot too.
Pam. Okay. Yeah. And thanks to everyone for being here.
And probably Peter gave a lot of information too.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I didn't do anything. I know that. I didn't do a damn thing. So
it's your birthday. You just enjoy.
All right. Okay. Jeff and Nan, really nice to see both of you. Hi. Then Peter is on twice. For some reason, Peter has two cameras going. Not sure how that happened. Peter and Estelle. There's my aunt Estelle next to my uncle Peter. I'm just doing the quick highs here. I don't know everyone. So there's a Whedon there. Okay, Whedon sounds familiar. So I know you somehow. Kathy Whedon. Okay. There's folk. Chris Barker's a familiar name. I'm just seeing the camera names here. I'm not going off faces. Eric, my cousin Eric. I won't keep doing this, but I don't think there's that many people here. Terry, I don't know you. Michael Siegel and Lakshmi, which is very cool to see them. And now I need to apologize for not having been in touch with you guys. So hello and sorry. How's that? Then Betty, Heidi, I don't know you wrote. I think my can you hear me still? Okay, so my headset died. And then let's see. Okay, a lot of other folks, maybe I shouldn't keep going through all of these, but it's really nice to see all of you. And I'm sorry if there are people who I know and I've missed saying hello to. Anyway, so I thought I'd start by talking about something that my dad was always into, as most or all of you will know, which was dates. He was always into the synchronicity of dates. You can hear me, right? Okay. So he was always talking about dates. He wrote that last little pamphlet about Baba's breaking of the silence, and he was obsessed with the date. He was arguing in his mind whether it was 2014 or 2016. And as I like to say, the only thing that happened in 2016 was that Trump got elected, and then my dad died. So that turned out to be the synchronicity of, allow me a little dark humor here. That was the synchronicity of 2016. But why I'm bringing that up is that today, June 20th, he would really get a kick out of, because it is his and my birthday, and then it also happens to fall on Father's Day this year, and then it happens to also be the solstice, if I'm not mistaken. So there's all these things. I mean, he would really get a kick out of that, and he'd want me to open by making a point out of that. When I graduated from college, it was a long time ago, in 2002, he stood up at some event that we went to and made a thing about how significant it was that 2002 was a palindrome, you said it backwards, it said 2002, and how that never comes along. Of course, it happened in 1991, I guess, but it doesn't come along that often. So it meant a lot to him. So dates were a big thing to him. And then actually about staying on June 20th for a second, something that is, I guess, just interesting for me personally is that several people who've meant a lot to me have also died on June 20th. When I turned 39, Pam is with Barry, and Barry's wife, Pat, died on June 20th, on my 39th birthday. And I just feel like pointing these things out. And then the following year, when I turned 40, which was also the year that when my dad was 40, I was born on his 40th birthday. So when I turned 40, it so happened that an aunt of mine on my mom's side of the family, who was very, considered her a very important person, she died on that day. So this is not to cast a pall of sadness over things, but it's just to say that she had a good death, by the way. I mean, it was known for a while that she was going to die, and the funeral surrounding her death was kind of a celebratory funeral. So I'm not trying to cast a pall of sadness over things, just to say that June 20th, it keeps hitting on things. I mean, stuff keeps happening, including this. So that's of interest to me, and I'll wait to see. Hopefully there'll be some nice birthdays also on June 20th. And then actually that reminds me, speaking of birthdays, on my mom's side of the family again, I don't know her exact age, but she's probably about 22 or 23 now. What I have on my mom's side of the family, I have 9 cousins. I have only 2 cousins on my dad's side, Peter. Eric, his son, is here right now. So I only have 2 cousins, but there are 10 cousins on my mom's side. I'm one of 10. And that generation started having, they're all older than me. And they started having children when I was in my 20s, I guess. And the first of those other 9 cousins to have children, so the next generation below, you could say on that side, that first child in that coming generation below the group of 10 cousins, that child was born on June 20th. So I was the youngest child of the 10 cousins on my mom's side. And then when the next batch, which is now proliferating, and there's about, I don't know the count, but there's probably about 10 of them now on the generation below. I was born on June 20th as the youngest, and the oldest of that generation was born on June 20th. So there's that. I think that's about all the June 20th stuff I can think of, but maybe there'll be more that comes to mind. So that was the main thing really that I wanted to say about that. Really, that was the main thing I wanted to add in terms of everything I had to say. I jotted a few things down. I guess one thing about that Pam said, which I think you'll find funny, she was talking about how he would always want to talk about Baba with people. That's obvious. And of course, it wasn't just Baba lovers or it was really anyone. It was anyone. He'd want to talk about Baba with anyone. And he was never, he was very good at speaking, but he wasn't always good at reading his audience. So I was privy to a lot of scenes of my dad pitching Baba to people that I could tell weren't going to be receptive to it. And I'd love to pull out an anecdote or two now, but honestly, I can't. I don't have one that immediately just jumps to mind. But there were a lot of times I saw him pitching Baba to people who weren't going to receive it. And I wish I could tell you a story now, but I'm thinking of various people that sort of came to his house on the weekends when I was there to watch a Baba video or two. And I just thought, this isn't going to go anywhere. But okay, in fairness, but sometimes it did, right? Sometimes it did, like Pam. So sometimes he chose his audience well. But the point really is he was completely non-discriminating in where he went. But he hooked some fish like Pam and many others, I think. So I can't hear you, Pam. You're talking. I don't know if you want to talk, but He hooked Barry. Yeah, that's right, Barry. I don't know how many on here. There might be others on here that he snagged. Bobby. So yeah, I mean, he cast a wide net and he ended up with some fish. So that's some of the people on here are testament to that. I think then the final thing I want to say, I think he'd want me to share this, so I should share it. When I was 37 when he died, and I was living in Boston. I saw Michael and Lakshmi a few times then, and I was in the midst of trying to get into med school, which was a big challenge, and so I was very engrossed in that. And what ended up happening is I did get into med school about a year after he died, and so I went off. I was 39 when I went off to med school, and that's where I am right now. And after my first semester in med school, it was hard. I got through it, and then I had a little Christmas break, and a school Christmas break, and I went back to Maine to see my mom. And then I came back to med school to start the second semester, and it's Ohio. It was winter. It was dark, and I just saw this. I felt this black hole of just the long road ahead without a whole lot of light in it, and I felt really, really down. Just the kind of having made it through a semester and then realizing, oh, I have to do this a bunch more times. And the road is so long, going through medical school and then through residency, and it just felt really bleak to me. And because the reward of having made it through a semester and finding out that I could do it, it felt like it didn't actually mean much, because here I am, I have to do it again. The break was so short; it might have been 14 days or something. So anyway, I was feeling very, very down, and I really wished at that point I could have called my dad and had a pep talk from him, because he was good at giving pep talks. You all know about his enthusiasm. So I really, that was a moment when I really wanted a phone call. I wished I could have talked to him, because that was one of his great qualities. He could always offer enthusiasm for things. He was just an enthusiastic person, and he was happy to offer enthusiasm to people that he cared about. So anyway, I wished I could have had a phone call with him. And it was definitely a week, a very abbreviated period, but a week of real sort of just despair is not overstating it for me. So I was just feeling really, really down and unsure how I was going to keep putting one foot in front of the other. It wasn't suicidal, don't misunderstand, but I was just really down. I thought, there's no light at the end of the tunnel kind of feeling. Anyway, this won't quite mean as much what I'm about to tell you, not knowing the actors here, but I'll do the best I can. I had spoken with my mom that week and told her how down I was feeling, what was going on. So she knew about this. And she called me several days, near the end of the week, several days later, and shared with me a story, which I think I've told to maybe only Peter. I may have told one or two others this. I think only Peter knows this. But anyway, so my mom told me that her husband, who's my stepfather, his name's Tony, he had a dream, and he tends to have dreams that he remembers. He tends to remember his dreams. And I should say that this dream obviously is going to involve my dad, but Tony, my stepfather, and my dad were not close. To be blunt about it, Tony didn't like my father. My stepdad did not like my father, which is important to say because it makes the story more meaningful. So what happened, and this is by way of my mom, is that Tony woke up after a dream and he said, I once had this written down, and I'm sorry I don't know where I put it, because I'd love to read the exact words here, but I'll have to do my best to reconjure it. He said that he had a dream unlike any other dream he'd ever had, and in it he saw my dad, and my dad came up to him and gave him a really big hug, and he said, I want you to tell Elijah that I'm with him and I support him, and I know he's going to make it. And the fact is, Tony is not an emotional guy. My stepfather is not an emotional guy. And he, I mean, for him, as my mom tells it, he was actually breaking up crying in telling her this story, this dream. In telling her this dream, he was breaking up crying. Or at least he was beginning to. I don't want to overstate it. But he doesn't really do that. He's not an emotional guy. And again, he didn't even like my father, to put it bluntly. So I mean, I just know that that was a real moment. There's no reason my dad should be appearing in my stepfather's dream. No reason. And I should say, my mom, I believe her fully. She didn't tell my stepfather, who I'm not that close with, she didn't tell him anything about my difficulties that I was having. He didn't know. He really didn't know. So that was a real event. That really happened. And there's no other way to explain it. So that's a good place to end.
Wow. I think I have chills now. So beautiful. Congratulations about med school.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm a nurse, so I kind of have a sense of how hard it really is. People don't realize it's so long and hard, but you're still at it. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, your dad's proud, I'm sure. Okay, thank you so much. That was beautiful. So cool.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, so many layers. Thank you. Bobby, did you want to unmute?
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, I still got little tears in my eyes. That sounds so much like Ken. And as I was been thinking about him so much these last week or two, that I feel like he is my spiritual brother, and he is watching somehow, or, I just feel his support. Yeah, I talk about something interesting, that I've known this for many years, that Ken, the word Ken, is either Old English or Scottish, and it means knowledge. And Lux in Latin means light. So Ken Lux is not knowledge and light, all mixed together here. I want to wish Ken, wherever you are, a happy birthday, and Elia, a happy birthday to you. And I agree that Ken loved synchronicity and coincidences. So, and I would have said the same thing about all the dates all coming together today. Very special day in honor of Ken. I met Ken in 1971, and I was reeled in. It was like in a passive way. It just kind of happened. My former husband was a medical student, and he and Ken became friends during the time that Ken was working at Albany Med. And so Ken invited us over for dinner one night. And I remember kind of sitting on the floor and eating, and there was these photos behind him of Baba. And I remember teasing him. And, it's funny because I didn't know him all that well. And yet he was the type of guy where you could tease him. He was so good natured that way. And I don't remember what he said exactly. I was saying, oh, he looks like a pizza guy or something. I was teasing him. And then I won't go into the whole story, but 9 months later, rebirth, I ended up walking into his apartment for a Baba meeting, which I didn't think I wanted to go to. I just thought I was going to go get some books upstairs from his housemate. And I said, no, I walked into that room and I said, can I join you? It was like something that just happened. And so Ken didn't, he didn't, it was just one of those things. It was a connection, and it was a wonderful meeting. And I always felt so welcome. It was home. It's just, and even though I didn't quite get, like, how could God be in a person? I didn't get that and this and that. But Ken was a really, he never pushed anything as far as that. And so anyway, the next big memory I have of Albany with Ken, aside from those great meetings, and was that 7 of us piled into a Volkswagen bus to go to the Mayor's Center down in Myrtle Beach. That was my first time to go to the center. And I'm sure Ken, I don't remember details. I don't remember who drove, but Ken must have organized it. He must have been the one. And on this excursion, it was a real adventure. I know that Jeff was on that trip, and I think Elliot Rosen and a few others, Ken Rickstead. But anyway, as we left Albany, it was like a blizzard conditions. And then when we got towards New Jersey, it was like torrential rain conditions. And I remember we went off the road once, but got back on, and we were on the Beltway. We ended up going north on the Beltway for a while. We ended up heading back home. So anyway, with all of these crazy things happening, we ended up getting to the center right at 5 o'clock. And I remember they were just closing the gate. And in those days, I think it would have been complicated for 7 people to find a place to stay after 5. So that timing was just perfect. Talking about Ken's generosity, I just don't want to forget to say this, that he plunked down $50 for me to start my first Baba album. And now that I am more aware of his finances during all his years, I'd say that was very, very generous. And he talked about enthusiasm. That really helped me to push forward with my first album. Ken left pretty soon, like a year or 2 after I was going to the meetings, and it was just a year he left for Maine. And so I was the only one that had an apartment at that time of our group, or the only logical one. So I ended up having the meetings in my house, in my apartment after that, about 3 more years. And what occurs to me now after all these years is that Ken never said to me, Baba, you must do it this way, or do this, or do that, or this is the order. He was like that. He wasn't judgmental, and I don't remember him saying anything, but it all worked out fine somehow. Baba took over, and I kind of just knew what to do. Let's see. And going back to the topic of music, I know Ken really loved going to concerts and all the different programs at the center. I don't know if he missed many, except when he was ill. And he enjoyed going to my concerts. But we shared a love of the Great American Songbook, and he loved classic jazz. So he was very enthusiastic for me to play those types of songs. So I have 2 that I remember that he encouraged me to play. And it's so interesting, his ironic sense, because he encouraged me to learn How Long Has This Been Going On by the Gershwins. And just to give you a sense of that song is, I could cry salty tears, where have I been all these years? Little wow, tell me how long has this been going on? And of course, it's a spiritual journey, and Baba, how long has this been going on? And then I'm beginning to see the light by Harry James, Duke Ellington, Johnny Hodges, and Don George is, I never cared much for moonlit skies. I never winked back at fireflies. But now that the stars are in your eyes, I'm beginning to see the light. So again, it's more the titles than the actual words, but again, like a kind of the light of the spiritual journey. So let's see. A couple more things is talking about, and again about music, is that I was in India one time at the same time Ken was in India, and that was wonderful. And we were both at this anniversary party for Havovi in Hoshang. It was 25th anniversary. All the Mandali were there in Mehrabad, and it was a wonderful occasion, lots of music. And Ken's intellectual, great thinker, and scholar chose to sing Bob of Face. You've got the cutest little Bob of Face. So he took that from the old song Baby Face. So it just tells you the different sides to Ken, you know, the serious scholar and then the music loving guy. I had very much admired his work in economics, trying to show people how the self-interest of economics, and his book, Adam Smith's Mistake. I'm sure someone else can kind of talk about that a little, maybe Peter will, but it's a really amazing book, and it just shows his heart for people and how he wanted that to be more humanistic. And so I just wanted one quote from Avatar of the Taurus that I thought was very touching. Let's see. Oh, I missed. Let me see. Did I write the page? Yeah. Ken went to the last darshan, and that was after Bob had dropped the body. He had promised to give a darshan program in May, and he did. And Ken went, despite some reservations at first. And I just wanted to share this. I walked up to the chair and kneeled down, and I was overwhelmed. There were several strong physical sensations. One was the knocking, supplanted by a fire that rose within my chest and spread to my mind, my consciousness. Baba was in the chair. No visions. I did not see him, but I knew he was there. I felt it was the apex of the feelings that had been building in me since landing in India. Here at the base of a seemingly empty chair, Baba showed me who he was. I wanted to call it supernatural, but in a deep sense, it was the most natural thing that ever happened to me. A Sufi type phrase came into my mind. When the oil of mind is touched by the fire of love, there is consuming heat and light. Okay, so if I didn't do it before, did I say I wanted to wish Eli a very happy birthday and happy Father's Day to everybody? And I will be coming back to read some excerpts from Dan Montague, who couldn't make it because of a python, and which one's now the Griffins, who couldn't make it because of a wedding. So anyway, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Oh, Bobby, that was beautiful. Thank you. That fills in some of the blanks for me about him. And Jim, do you want to share a little bit? Is this a good time? Oh, I'm sorry. I just muted you by mistake. There you go.
Yeah, this is a great time. And thank you, Bobby. And this is so wonderful and such a testament to Ken that so many people are joining us today. Really, really nice. I want to talk a little bit about kind of some of my early days with Ken, especially in Maine. And if there's time, some excerpts from a eulogy that I gave at the Circle of Friends a few weeks after Ken dropped. And but if I go too long, just cut me off. I want to give everyone a chance. But I really came to Baba on Amirtithi of 73. I was in Lexington, Kentucky at the time, which was a real Baba hotspot in the early 70s. And that was at Amirtithi, we had a kind of a party in celebration, and that was I marked that date it was the day that I decided to give up using drugs, because I recognized Baba's divine authority, that his message about that was the absolute truth. And so I came to Baba, but I was still sort of clueless in so many ways about what that meant and so on. And so that summer I was up in Maine, where I spent a lot of time in Maine. Our family had moved up to, my parents had moved up to Maine from New Jersey in '69. And I was back up in Maine and walking down the street and saw in the window of a house, Baba's picture announcing a talk to be given at the University of Maine at Orono. And I went to that talk, and of course it was Ken. And there weren't very many people there, and I don't think that really anyone else who was there was terribly interested in the talk, but I was very interested in the talk and very interested in Ken, and went up after the talk and introduced myself, and we became good friends. And really, I needed kind of a mentor to help me sort of grasp what was happening with coming to Baba and what was that all about. And it was the time that was 73 when a bunch of us moved to Maine, and we were doing this, back to the land homesteading thing. And we would have Baba meetings. And I remember one time I was in Bangor, Maine with Ken, and I wanted to buy a watch, which was a big deal for me to buy anything because I never had any money. So, but I wanted to buy a watch to time my transcendental meditation sessions, because you were supposed to meditate 20 minutes twice a day. So, I was loving Baba, but also wanted to do this meditation. And I was trying to decide, do I move to California to become a transcendental meditation teacher, or do I go to the Baba Center in Myrtle Beach, where I'd never been? And it was this big decision for me. And Ken said he thought I should go to the Baba Center. And I did. The Baba Center won out. And then a few months later, I went to India. But meanwhile, we were having all these meetings in the early 70s and into the 80s at Baba meetings in Maine with Alan and Janet Powell, who moved to Maine at that same time. Richard and Cynthia Griffin were up in Bar Harbor. Dan and Carol Montague were there. The Coffins were there. Later on, the Butlers. Billy Baum would come to the meetings. Paul Haratunian was part of the whole group. And then, of course, then we would go down to the Boston for Baba's birthday at Harvard Divinity School, because Charles Haynes was there. And I remember going to see Hoshang Barucha and Don Stevens, Darwin Shaw. So Ken would organize all these excursions down to Boston. So we were connected with that group also for so many years. And then we, of course, we had the Mela in '75, which was organized by Alan Powell, and Ken had a great hand in that as well. And I was living there at the time, and we built that dome. And you saw in the beginning of the session some of the pictures of us building the geodesic pandal, and Pukar came, and so many people came to the Mela. It was an incredible experience. So that was kind of the early time with Ken, and as everyone said, he was so enthusiastic about sharing Baba and talking about Baba, and we really had a great connection. And I'd like to read a little bit, if there's time, an excerpt from the eulogy that I delivered at the Circle of Friends meeting a few weeks after Ken passed away. So let me find that here. So So Ken was a paradox of a human being. An economics expert, he was chronically broke. He was an intellectual who understood the ultimate futility of thought as a way to knowing truth. He was a political activist who knew that truth is not political, but spiritual. But beneath the superficial aspects of his personality, beneath the veil of the mental impressions that clothed Ken from, with his persona in this lifetime, there was the essential Ken. And I think that if we had asked Ken, who are you? He would have told us he was a Baba lover. Ken loved Baba. That was his life, a life of love and devotion to Baba, empowered by the conviction that Baba was his real self, the embodiment of divine love. And at the end of his life, Ken could have said that he was one of very few living persons at the time who had received a telegram from God. But Ken was not given to talking about himself much unless he thought it would help others to understand themselves, and particularly if he thought it would help others on their own personal journey with Baba. And when I was a clueless 22-year-old vagabond and Baba was welcoming me to his world, Ken was there gently helping me to interpret this extraordinary inner process that was happening to me. Over the years, he was always there to listen whenever I was uncertain about my way forward, my various crises in life. We often lived far apart geographically, but we talked frequently by the phone, joyfully picking up the thread of our previous rambling dialogue. And, soon after Ken passed away, after the initial period of loss and grieving that I was feeling, once in a while, the thought would come to me, I should call Ken. And then I'd remember. Ken was a skilled, active listener. I was very impressed with his skill in that regard. And he had an ample capacity for listening to and hearing others, which made him a natural-born psychotherapist. And he remained enthusiastic about his clinical practice right to the end. Unlike, many clinicians who would get burned out, Ken was not like that. He was with it right up to the end of his life. He was a strong critic of the overuse and misuse of psychotropic drugs for treatment of affective disorders, and that made him an outcast among his peers in mental health. But I believe that history will prove him to be right. He was ahead of his time in that regard. Ken was passionate about social justice. He was a radical activist right out of the 60s. He never wavered in his political beliefs, but he struggled for most of his life to reconcile his recognition that from a worldly point of view, political action can benefit people, but from the spiritual point of view, knowing about Baba, Ken knew that what the world really needs now is not politics, but the oneness of divine love. And it's, towards the end, Ken's passion for politics, kind of faded away. Back when the Democratic Party primary came to South Carolina, I guess in 2015, and Bernie was really, coming up fast. I'd talk with Ken, I'd urge him, get out there, work for Bernie. And Ken would say, I'm saying, Ken, it's the revolution, it's finally happening. And Ken's response was, yeah, Bernie, Bernie, right, And somehow I knew before words were out of my mouth that the last traces of Ken's revolutionary political passions were just dissolving in Baba's ocean. And at the very end, the same thing happened with Ken's zeal for writing. He was always writing something about Baba, of course, but also about economics, the environment, social issues. But toward the end, Ken only wrote about Baba. And sometime in his last few days, when asked what his next writing project would be, someone told me, he replied, I don't think I'm going to write anything anymore. Ken not writing anymore? He might have just as well have said, I don't think I'll breathe anymore. Seems like Ken's writing sanskaras, all his sanskaras, in fact, had been pretty much used up for this particular lifetime. But almost to the end, Ken did continue to talk and write about Meher Baba's manifestation and the breaking of his silence. Ken was well aware that this preoccupation with Baba's silence breaking, this obsession that put him on the receiving end of, a lot of kind of good-natured ribbing, was his personal Zen koan. This was an unsolvable conundrum, this issue of Baba's breaking his silence, that Baba had bestowed upon him. It was a divine gift intended to blow his mind. And it worked. I think it worked. In his last writing about Baba's manifestation, the last few phone conversations that he and I had together, it seemed like the intellectual fire that had driven this riddle in Ken's mind, it seemed to have lost its heat. And in its place, there was light, a light of acceptance that this is all Baba. Whatever happens, whatever will happen with the world, politics, money, health, it's all just dissolved in Baba, and that's that. And on we go with Baba, as Ken would say. He was suffering physically and financially in his last years. He would acknowledge it, we'd talk about it, but he had no interest in dwelling on it. It was always, he would say, okay, enough of that. Now let's talk about Baba. In our last conversation about a week before Ken dropped out of this world, we discussed our joyful puzzlement over the meaning of, what does it mean to be a Baba lover? In his love for Baba, Ken touched many lives. He brought a lot of people to Baba. He really did live for God and die for God. And by Baba's grace, I'm confident that Ken he's in the fast lane to find God and his real self. And I just want to share a picture. And this is a picture. Is this going to show up? It doesn't seem to show up.
No, because you have a virtual background on.
Oh, it's because of the virtual background?
Yeah.
I wonder if I can turn that off.
Yeah, take your time. Let me see where to
choose virtual background.
There you go.
And now, how do I turn it off? None. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, so this is a print of a painting done by 3B of Baba as the White Horse avatar, right? Kalki. This is, all so connected with Baba's manifestation and Ken's kind of, obsession with Baba's breaking his silence. A good obsession to have, by the way. I don't mean it in a derogatory way at all. I mean, it's all the thinking about this kept Ken focused on Baba. And my understanding is that Ken died under this picture. This is the picture that was hanging on the wall in his apartment. So, I'll leave it with that. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Beautiful, thank you. Go ahead, Leah.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand properly, but
no, you're good.
I think I should show this. I think you'd all like this. Jim holding up a picture reminded me of something. So just 30 seconds here. I'll walk my computer over, and turn the, the truth is I use Blackboard Collaborate all the time and don't use Zoom very often. How do I flip my camera again? I want to flip the camera.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. What are you trying to do?
I want to show you guys something. I think it's
on your computer.
I'm on my computer.
Okay, if I, oh, gee.
You can't flip the camera. So I forgot I'm on my iPad.
What you can do is you can share screen at the bottom. And then you can show what it is that you have. It'll be like on your desktop and you can click on it. So if you click share screen.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's necessary. I'm just gonna, you tell me if you can see it. I'm just gonna walk this over. I don't know. I think it's my little post that I have as a tribute to my dad. I think you guys would dig this.
Oh,
and I put this is a known, this is a nice thing. I found this when I was rummaging through his apartment, trying to save the things that I felt would have meaning to me down the road. This is, you can't see it too well, but it's a "Be a Good Doctor" quote here from Baba, which I know my dad had this framed just as it is. And so I pulled this out of his apartment. This was something I knew I'd hang up. And then I just, down below it, I have a little picture of him and me. Anyway, this is, I've got a column in my apartment. It's like this side dedicated to stuff from my dad. So anyway, that's it.
Wow. Wow. I never saw that thing about "Be a Good Doctor" before.
Yeah, it's a nice quote. You want me to read it?
Yeah.
I remember that, Elia. He loved that quote.
Yeah, I'll read it. It's a great quote. I'll read it.
Thank you.
It's worth reading. Be a good doctor. If you love your work, you can do it with love. And anything that is done with love has perfect results. To be a good doctor, always have in mind that all patients, good or bad, big or small, are equal. Treat with as much care and interest a beggar as you would a millionaire. And that's a big problem I see, I think, in medicine. I mean, just even judging from my peers, I think that's a big issue, not treating all people equally. In case you find you are not paid the fees, you must not for a moment think of refusing treatment. This is simple and practical, and yet a good many doctors don't observe this simple rule. Only when a doctor realizes that the one infinite God is within all, he can work like a saint. I am the doctor of souls. To me, good and bad, all are lovable, and I help each according to the need. Although it seems simple to become a good doctor, it is very difficult to be so. So many things interfere: reputation, name, money, that's a big one, society, circumstances, and so on. That's what's there. It's a great quote.
Wow. Thank you.
Ken once posed the question to me, for a doctor, what is more important, knowledge or love? And of course, the answer was love, because if the doctor loves his patients, he or she will acquire the knowledge necessary to help them.
So I feel okay on the second, and I'm really, the first is a long, hard slog. I mean, there's some test scores that would say I've got a problem with the first, but I'm still alive. Anyway, the first one's a doozy, but the second one's a doozy for a lot of people too. And I feel okay on that one. Anyway.
I suspect you're going to be awesome. You probably already are. But anyway, that's just me. I don't even know you, but I'm suspecting that. All right, next we have, let's see, Peter. Oh yeah, I've been waiting for Peter.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great, thanks.
Hi. So
your chin is cut off a little bit.
I will sit up.
How's that? Thanks.
Okay, here we go. So some of the things that I said or might have said before at Ken's memorial a couple of years ago, if I repeat myself, so be it. Anyway, Ken, obviously Ken was my brother, my only brother. We shared a lot. We shared parents, and we shared growing up. Everyone refers to him as Ken, but we knew him as Kenny. He was always Kenny. He was never Ken. To my children, Eric and Allison, he was Uncle Kenny. To his friends, he was Kenny. My mother and father referred to him as Kenny, and that's who he is to us. He was about 5 years older than me. And as my older brother, I just followed him around. And we had what I would like to say was our own magical mystery tour. He was into so many things, and for most of the time, I went along. We went from popular music with people such as the Kingston Trio to jazz with people like Sonny Rollins and Dave Brubeck, and eventually to opera with Leontyne Price. We raised pigeons towards the local racetracks like Belmont Park and Roosevelt Raceway. And we went to Yankee Stadium to watch the New York Football Giants. Like he and myself, a rite of passage was, as someone mentioned, we always worked for my father. In this fall, we sold tulip bulbs. At Christmas, it was trees and wreaths and roping. In the spring, on Easter, it was tulips and lilies, and the rest of the year it was shrubbery. One of the things that, as a rite of passage, one of the things that sort of Ken was noted for, he always carried his belongings strapped around his shoulder in a kit bag. And we always kidded him that it was like carrying around the football as the president with the bomb codes. His travels took him from Queens, New York to Bloomington, to Indiana, to Albany and Middletown, Connecticut, and eventually to all over the state of Maine, finally ending up, as you all know, in Myrtle Beach. When they say Renaissance man, I'm not really sure what that means. Is it someone who is a jack of all trades, someone who has his hands in his pockets? Ken was all of those. He certainly was. He was a teacher, a writer, economist, psychotherapist, political activist, and even a little bit nuts. One thing that has always bothered me that I've sort of, and I mentioned this to Bobby, that when I spoke at his memorial, it was something that I wanted to mention. I didn't, and it sort of stuck with me for the last couple of years, and I'm going to mention it now. Ken was born Jewish. And although he didn't practice, those were his roots. And so when he passed away, I said Kaddish for him. I was sorry I didn't mention it before, and it always something that bothered me. For those of you that are not familiar with Kaddish, it is a prayer that is said when a loved one passes away. It is a sign of show their legacy, their existence, and their faith. We not only say it for the ones loved ones who have passed away, we say it for the 6 million who died in the Holocaust because there is no one to say it for them. Talmudic rabbis have debated the meaning and tradition of the Kaddish for centuries. It is even more convoluted and complicated than trying to figure out begin the begin. Finally, as brothers, we had an unwritten pact. No matter where we were, we would always contact each other on our birthdays. So Kenny, happy birthday. And I know you sent along your agent, Elia, to keep up the trend. So that's what I want to say. Happy birthday, Goliath. Happy Father's Day to everyone. And thanks for doing this.
Oh, Peter, that was fabulous. Thank you so much. Just beautiful. Yeah, thank you. I didn't know if Eric, you're moving around, but I didn't know if you wanted to share something, Eric. You don't have to, but if you'd like to.
No, I'm okay. I'm all right.
Okay.
I remember all the stories, but no, I'll let it go.
Yeah, you got Eli laughing over there. I'm sure you have some stories. All right. If you want to come back later.
Okay.
All right. How about Barry? I know Barry's here. I didn't know if you wanted to take a minute, share.
Okay, Barry,
Yeah, I'll just take a minute.
Oh, take two.
We met each other in graduate school, and we were, neither of us were spiritual at all. We just wanted to get good grades and get our PhD. But we followed it, and it came to be that we decided we ought to look into the spiritual thing. It seems like a lot of people in the world think it's an important thing. And we started looking at all kinds of things. We looked into Buddhism, and we looked into, and it was not Christianity. We looked into the Asian, the other kinds. And he came back one summer, and he had gone into a University of Notre Dame, which is a Catholic university. He went in there, and he found this book, and it said, Mayor Baba wrote this book. And he wondered it. He picked it up, and he took that book, and I think it was the Discourses. And he read that Discourses all the way back from there, which is in wherever it is, I guess, Illinois, to Indiana. And he read it, and he said, this guy actually wrote it. Jesus Christ didn't write it. Nobody else wrote it. This man wrote himself. And he said, this is what I believe. And he wrote the Discourses. And he brought it to me. And he gave it to me, and I read them. I said, this guy knows something. We have to look into this more. We have to look into this Mayor Baba guy. And he showed me a picture of him, and I couldn't believe it because it was an older picture. It didn't look like what I thought a God man would be. He should have showed me the young one that we looked just like Jesus. But then we looked into it. We looked into it some more, and the more we looked into it, we said, this man is the man. Anybody who could write something like the Discourses and say, this is what I believe in, we both believed in it. And from that time on, he became a Mayor Baba, and I did too. And then that's why we stayed together, and that's why he came to Maine, because I went there first, and he came there after that, and he bought land beside me, and he grew up beside me, and that's why I knew Elijah. So I had a great time with him for many, many, many years, going on to those Mayor Baba things. And so he got me involved, and I one time, to show how generous he was. I didn't have much money back then. I was married. I had 2 children. I didn't have too much money. And he said, I want you to go to the Myrtle Beach. I said, I can't afford it. He said, I'm giving you the money. You'll give me the money to take. I want your family to come down. I said, well, I'll pay you back. He said, don't worry. So he did. So he paid me. And I brought my family down here to Myrtle Beach. And that was a very big thing in my family. And of course I paid him back, but that shows you how generous he was. If you wanted to do something with Baba, he would give you all of this money. And so that's why I always think of him. Have a great debt to him. And so does my family. And so that's how I got here. That's how I got Pam. And it's we have to give him the credit for that. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay, I want you to say about Elizabeth, what Elizabeth told you when you came.
Oh, Elizabeth, I was down here, and I met these different people, and they were all very nice, but Elizabeth scared me for some reason. I don't know why. I was there one time, and he came over to me, and he says, who are you? I said, I'm Barry Cornrich. Why are you here? I said, well, Ken Lux brought me down here. He said, oh, Ken Lux. He said, yes. He says, Ken Lux says very big in the mind, but he needs to get a little more in the heart. But here's what I tell you, no matter what happens between you, keep him together, be friends with him to the very end. And so I did. And so that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, dear. That was nice.
That was beautiful. Yes. Wow. Thank you. Oh, I just have to pause in between to take some of this in. What a man. What a beautiful man. Michael, you've been so patient.
Yes.
Jay Baba.
Hey, Michael.
Hello, everybody.
Yes,
okay. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
All right, happy birthday, Elia. Is he still there? So, Elia, Ken.
Yeah, I am, Michael. Hi.
Hello.
Thank
right.
you.
So, Elia, you, as you well know, the other people here don't know about this, but Elia, Ken, myself, and Lakshmi are very, we're members of a very exclusive club. You know, on June 20th, it's the 2020 Club. So in order to be a member of this club, you have to have 2 intimate family members born on the same day, and it has to be on the 20th of day. So our birthday, we both have the same birthday, February 20th, and you guys are June 20th. So we would often note each other's birthdays for all kinds of reasons, but also being a member of that club. Yeah. So, I should say that I first met Ken in Albany at the great bomb scare meeting at SUNY Albany, which was, I can't remember whether it was 70 or 71. Bobby, you may remember that. But I was living in New Paltz, New York, south of Woodstock. And I had come to Baba. I had a number of experiences that brought me into Meher Baba's world. And somehow, and I was quite alone with this. I was not in contact with other people. But somehow, at one point in the small village of New Paltz, New York, there was a poster that showed up in the local drugstore. I don't know how that happened. It means there was a Baba person around. And there was a photo of Meher Baba. And it was advertising a talk by someone named Darwin Shaw, will be giving a talk about Meher Baba at SUNY Albany in such and such a day. And somehow I commandeered really a VW van worth of 5 other people, none of whom were interested in Meher Baba. I was the only one who had an inner connection. And we all went up to this talk. And it's an interesting thing. I won't go into the details, but Ken, who is living there, introduced Darwin. And that was a very key moment in my story with Baba. But that's when I first met Ken. And, you know, honestly, I can't remember the steps by which we became close, but we did very, very quickly in those early days. You know, I would drive up to Albany for Darwin's meetings starting 71 every Saturday night. And there was contact with Ken until he went to Maine. And then, we live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and many of you know that and have been to our meetings. We've been holding meetings here since 1978. And as part of that, Ken, just as Pam, you described, by that time, Ken is up in Maine and he's constantly coming down to Boston, not just for the big events, but sometimes for the small little teeny weeny meetings. And I just want to share the screen for something here. Am I able to share the screen, Ruthie?
Yeah, you are now, Michael. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Let's see if this comes up. I just scanned it as somebody was talking. Yeah, okay. Can you see this? Can you see this photo? Maybe it's too small. Can you see it? Yes or no? Hello?
Yeah, we can see it. It's a little small. Can you
Oh, it's too small. I'm sorry. I guess there's nothing I can do about that. Okay, I'll stop the share and just hold up this photo. Maybe this is a better way. This would be it. So this is Ken, my wife Lakshmi, and our first daughter Jyoti in our living room. Many of you have been there for Baba meetings. And this is just the feeling of that he was part of our family forever. And just so much contact we had, and I would say very, very intimate, easy way. I will tell you that as the years would go on and Ken got more and more into his writing, we had increasing arguments. And that was one of the hallmarks of our relationships. We felt he was getting increasingly crazy with his ideas. I don't mean clinically crazy, but we loved to argue with Ken. And just as was described before, as people have noted, Ken, we'd be having a conversation, we'd be arguing a point, and Ken would bring out his book and says, wait a minute. And he'd go through his stuff and he'd pull out an article or something and said, see. And hours and decades went by in that way. You know, you all know how, what do we say, unworldly wise a guy he was for such a brilliant man. You know, how incompetent in certain ways he seemed to be in navigating the world. So when Ken would say, okay, I'm going out to give this talk in, I don't know what, Minneapolis or this or that, I said, oh yeah, good, all right. And we, you know, and he would always come to Boston. He was always flying in and out of Boston. And, you know, our place was always a way station for him. I can't imagine how many times. And, you know, annoyingly, I would ask him, so did you get a good deal on the flight? And he would say, I have no idea. When are you leaving? Oh, I don't know, 6 in the morning. I said, really, 6 in the morning? And how much is that costing you? Oh, I don't know, $1,200 or this or that. Something insane, you know. And we said, didn't you look around for a better deal? Say, no, I can't be bothered with that. And for a guy who had no money, an economist, as Jim said, it was stunning how incompetent he was in one way, but really it was like not paying attention because it didn't matter to him. You know, that's really what it was at the heart of it. And his generosity, of course, is legend. He was constantly giving us presents that were impractical, totally, you know, but had whimsy or some thoughtfulness or care about, you said this about this song or this movie, and this reminded me of that. So I don't know, he'd spend $60 on some little artifact that somebody would have made in Maine or something and give it to us for one of our birthdays or something. And it would delight us and we'd be humbled, but it would make us crazy that he can't do this. So that's part of the flavor of our relationship with Ken. And I'll share one other thing, which is really funny. So I'm a professor, I'm an academic. And at one point where I think things were particularly bleak, I somehow pulled off getting Ken hired as an adjunct professor in my department. I'm the chair of the department that I work in. And sort of created a course loose enough that somebody could step in. And I got him hired and we set it up. So Ken taught this course. And we're proud and happy to say he got the absolute worst student reviews of anybody in the history of my college. And that's because he was talking like this and everybody was living like this. But what did come out in the course evaluations was he's a brilliant and knowledgeable guy who has a lot of enthusiasm. He doesn't know how to talk to us though. These students would say. I don't know, Lakshmi, do you want to share something?
No, I was always so amazed at his passion when he spoke of anything, you know, and even things that I thought did not merit the kind of passion. How passionate he was about arguing against Charles Darwin and Rene Descartes.
Oh God!
It was amazing to me, and so, but you know, I wish now I would have appreciated that more. The fact is that he was so passionate about everything, and I wish I had some of that.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I just couldn't believe it. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to add on to that. We could not believe how often, for years, he was outraged that more people were not outraged about Charles Darwin.
And Rene Descartes.
Yeah, and Descartes. He could not fathom that the world wasn't an open revolt about this. And this was an ongoing problem for him. And Pam and I know what I'm talking about, right? It's amazing things that would get him going, but you know, it's part of the love.
Yeah.
Can I chime in, Michael? We were told not to unmute ourselves, but I just
No, you're
did.
good. You're good. Of course you can.
Well, I mean, it was always so interesting for me, the strange bedfellows that my dad would attract, in politically speaking, because like the people that are outraged about Charles Darwin are creationists, and him. That was that. I mean, and in various other. I remember him being. I passed this on to peers a lot as a little anecdote in service of some points I make these days. I remember him being befuddled about the fact that Ron Paul people, remember Ron Paul and that whole nutty movement? They would show up at the things he would go to, and he couldn't wrap his mind around how why would they be there at his radical left events? Because there's this odd dovetailing that happens. And so I over and over, I observed that. The Darwin stuff is a great example of it. He would find himself in radical corners in which he had some very strange bedfellows. And I could go on about this for much longer than I should, but one thing that just came to mind out of the blue was remember the militia movements of the 90s, I think? They bombed Oklahoma City. There's probably plenty of diversity within that crowd, and they're not all militants, but I remember there was a Maine militia, which they weren't terroristic or anything, but they did call themselves a militia. And I remember somehow showing up at their stuff. God knows what brought us there. Don't think Timothy McVeigh here, but whatever it was, some left radical thing that he'd gotten into had somehow brought him together with the Maine militia folks. And there were just so many things like that where I just thought, you have the most bizarre set of bedfellows you've found yourself with. And that came up over and over again. Seemed, we all know, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, another way of saying that he straddled many worlds.
Straddled many worlds.
Very few of us have.
That's a better way of putting it. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes straddled those worlds without an awareness that he was doing such, I think.
Ken was a brilliant, critical thinker who never met a conspiracy theory he didn't like.
Right.
Well, I have to mute to say that was wonderful. He and I had terrible fights about his conspiracy theories. And I had been brought up by a very paranoid mother. And I just couldn't stand to hear it. So we're riding along and Ken's talking. I said, stop. I keep telling you, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. Ken kept going on. I said, okay. I stopped the car. I said, Ken, get out, please. I can't stand to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Any more conspiracies. You're going to have to walk. He said, you don't mean it, do I? I mean it. I can't stand to hear this anymore. Please get out. Well, he didn't get out, but he respected my aversion to conspiracy theories after that.
Right. And Pam, he did in fact get us all talking with each other about, did you hear the latest thing that Ken's talking about now?
Oh, how true, how true. Yes, yes, yes. So this has been such a trip down memory lane. At first, I thought when I started, I thought I should be very polite and not mention Ken's weird points. But this has been wonderful. I guess that's why we loved him.
I hear that.
Thank you, thank you.
Michael, do you have anything else to add? I was going to ask Chris.
No, thank you, Bobby, for being the seed for all this. It's great to see you.
So sweet. All right, so Chris Barker. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, I'm here because of Ken Lux. And this story goes back to the summer of 1968. There was in San Antonio, Texas, there was a small scale World's Fair called Hemisphere. And Nick Coleus, who lived in Waco, Texas, and same place that I live, but I didn't know Nick at that time. He got, I think he got the idea from Adele Woken to go to San Antonio and have a Baba booth. And so he made arrangements to do that. This is sort of like following on from the New York World's Fair in 1961 when they had a Baba booth. So that's probably where Adele got the idea. And I assume that it came from Adele. But at any rate, Nick Coleus would go down. He was living in Waco, and he'd drive 180 miles down to San Antonio, Texas, and work at this Baba booth on the weekends. And Ken Lux got wind of this and heard about it. And so he volunteered to come down and help. And so he and his wife, Dolly, at that time, and 2 or 3 other Baba lovers in the summer of '68 went down to San Antonio, Texas, and worked at this Baba booth all summer and perhaps into the early fall as well. And they were supposed to be, so they were passing out Baba literature, and I got a hold of that Baba literature, and I and Ralph Jackson and Eric Lawson became Baba lovers as a result of that. That started our journey to Baba, was that literature that we got, that Ken and Nikos Coleus passed out. So Ken, I was just reading in the Avatar of the Turtle, Ken wrote about his experience there in San Antonio. And he said that they were supposed to be given permission to use a theater and give presentations about Baba. But when they got there, they found out that they couldn't get permission to use the theater. And so all summer long, they kept trying to get this theater so they could give presentations instead of just having a booth and passing out literature. So finally, at the end of the summer, they got permission to use the theater. And so, because this was a big fair, there was always crowds of people. So any presentation that got advertised, it filled up the theater. So he said they would give these presentations about Baba. The theater would fill up, and about halfway through the presentation, Ken says, people would start leaving. And he says it wasn't just 1 or 2 people, it was like the Exodus. But nonetheless, they persisted with giving their presentations. But Ken was kind of depressed about the fact that all these people were leaving during the presentation. But within a very short period of time, he got the telegram. And I don't know if they got more than 1 telegram from Baba, but this is the telegram that Baba sent to Ken and to all the people who were working at that booth. By spreading the message of my love, you, my lovers, will one day enter the domain of my divine love. My love blessing to you. So as a result of that booth, I and Ralph Jackson and Eric Lawson, another person, we were all living in Waco, Texas, and we all became Baba lovers. I don't know of anybody else that became Baba lovers from that booth there at Hemisphere in San Antonio. But Baba's picture and his message, his name would have been seen by thousands and thousands of people there in Texas. And And for sure, that is a place where they need to hear Baba's name. And so they got to hear that. So that's my Ken Lux story.
Wow, that's a fabulous story, Chris. Here you are. That's wonderful. Well, I see Bobby's got her hand up.
Well, I have, Daniel, Montague, and Carol couldn't make it today. They're in Australia. It would have been hard anyway. It would have been for them 1 o'clock in the morning to start. So if you don't mind, he asked me if I could read from something that he wrote in honor of Ken at the time of his memorial. I won't read the whole thing, but there's some wonderful, wonderful stories of Ken in Maine. How much time do we have? I'm just wondering.
I think we're good. I think probably till 2, actually. So you're
good. Okay. Daniel, let's see. Daniel Montague first met Ken at the Maine Mela at the Powell's farm in 1975. And Daniel had been sailing off the coast of Maine for Outward Bound and made it over for the last 2 days of that Mela that was spoken of earlier. After Carolyn and Daniel were married in 1976, they moved to Maine in late summer of 79 and drove over to Ken and Katie's home in Penobscot with their two-year-old Cragen. Elia was just a baby. The two of them showed us around as he wrote, their hand-built home, and I remember Ken showing off his new on-demand hot water heater. All of us were hippies at heart and were happy to know of other Baba lovers in Maine. The meetings were few, and we would alternate between Ken's home and ours in Belfast from 79 to 84, when the two of us moved out of Maine for the next 17 years. And I can remember Ken, he's saying, picking me up, Daniel, up, and we ventured to New York for the first Northeast gathering in 1981. We kept in touch with Ken over the years. In early 2001, he put us in touch with a few Baba lovers in Mid-Coast, Maine. We moved to Owl's Head in late summer 2001, bringing with us Carolyn's mom, Verna, and 3 of our children. Ken was so excited to see the Baba population of Maine increase by 1/3. He pretty much set up and ran the monthly meetings held at different locations around the state. So then they convinced Ken to move to Rockland area to be closer to them. So he says, Ken was the glue that held together the Baba lovers of Maine. We always had great fun. Meetings were first usually guided by Ken and potluck dinner, never a disappointment. He attended the Boston Baba meetings on a regular basis, as Michael mentioned, always giving of himself and bringing to so many the intensity of his love and devotion to Baba. He wrote his book, Meher Baba, Avatar of the Tortoise in Maine, and his publisher, Connie Levitt, became a Baba lover because of her contact with Ken in the book. He also wrote about Baba's manifestation, which just been mentioned before. He tended to neglect his meals, and he never wanted to be bothered with dealing with his health. That's another, aside from the money part, he didn't deal with his health. Baba was that important to him. But I think Baba wanted people to deal with their health. So that was something that was, he really he dealt with his own health in so many different ways. And he wanted others to, he would ask people how they were. Carolyn would remind him that he had to take care of himself if he wanted to do all this work for Baba. So she'd have him over for dinner, and it was always pleasant. He loved the big bands, jazz, and Cole Porter. They all had that in common. He took great interest in our children and paid special attention to them. And he really became a part of our family there in Owl's Head. And that's been a theme today of how Ken was so much a part of people's families. Big theme. Let's see. When we celebrated Carolyn's 60th birthday in 2006, we had a big party at our home, and Ken and his longtime friend and fellow Baba lover, Barry Cornish, led Carolyn through her rite of passage for entering her 60s. And then the birthday card from Ken was, "Dear Carolyn, the earth has gone around the sun 60 times since you were born, and what a time to come down to earth. You came here to be with the Avatar and to have your wonderful family and even your extended family, which includes me, Ken. Have a great birthday." And then another example of Ken's generosities, he mentions, Daniel mentions that we owned 2 video stores at the time, one in Rockland and the other 12 miles out to sea on Vinalhaven Island. Ken loved these stores. He invested in them and also loaned us his Baba video library to rent out in our stores. Talking about video, I want to ask you folks, did Ken show you a movie? He was so excited about this film that was about deja vu. It was a small movie, or maybe it was an independent movie, and about a woman who goes to Ireland, and there's like a deja vu based romance in this film, and the White Cliffs of Dover is played throughout the movie. And for the life of me, and I was a research librarian, I cannot find it anywhere. So if anybody saw that film with Ken or knows about it, please let me know. Let's see. Just trying to think, I'm trying to keep this short. Okay, so it just says that they're just mentioning that they had a surprise 70th birthday party for him. And Ella Fitzgerald singing Cole Porter in the background. And there was his also it turned out to be his Bon Voyage party before he moved to Myrtle Beach. He'd been planning it for quite a while. He'd been living in Maine for 40 years and it wasn't an easy parting for him. However, he was so excited about the prospect of living near the Mayor Spiritual Center and volunteering there. And he was done with the cold winters. And I can say that Ken devoted so much time to the center. He was there, as I said, for so many meetings, supported people. And he also gave tours as long as he could until his health, stopped him. But he really enjoyed giving those tours. And I just want one more paragraph. Ken left Maine and moved to Myrtle Beach in October 16, 2009. That evening, and it says with his son Elia helping and driving. That evening when we came home, there was a message on our answering machine and it was from a very excited Ken. "Daniel and Carolyn, I'm in a truck and on my way to a new life at the center. And it's New Life Day." Another one of those holiday things with Ken. And we saved the message on our machine for several weeks. So I have something from the Griffins as well. So I don't know, should I let someone else speak first or you want me to finish?
You can go ahead and finish, but I'm going to show this photo. I think this is Daniel, Bobby, correct me.
Good. If it's with a boat or it's in.
Is that Daniel?
No, it's Jim Whedon.
No, Jim.
Oh, Jim. I'm sorry.
That's at the center.
It's a beautiful photo. I
wish we did have something with Daniel. I don't think I saw anything.
Okay, sorry.
Well, that was fine. So the Griffins were Richard and Cynthia were like great friends of Ken's. Very great. And they can't make it because of a wedding, but just a few little tidbits that they shared with me in their emails. First, they said, "Our hearts are with Ken and all celebrating him." He opened up a wide path for people to approach Mayor Baba in the way he would actively engage people with this great interest and enthusiasm about wherever they were coming from and whatever insights they might have. He was lots of fun. And then the next email, "I remember visiting Ken, Katie, and Elia on the day of Elia's birth at Bar Harbor Hospital on June 20th, 1979. Our son Lucas, who was also born at Bar Harbor Hospital 3 months earlier, was with us carrying a balloon for the new baby. Hey, Elia, do you remember that? There was a balloon for you when you were born. And then one more thing. You probably know that Ken had received a telegram. Oh yeah, and you've mentioned that from Baba helping him for his help with the World's Fair type event in Texas. Also, Erich, Baba's close right-hand disciple, was quite fond of Ken. When we went to India together in 1988, this is Richard talking, I first saw Erich at the trust office. And the first words out of Erich's mouth to me were, "Where is Lux?" He would always engage Ken in conversations in Mondley Hall. So that's all I've got. Thanks.
Oh, that's great. I could just see Erich and Ken together.
Yeah.
I bet Erich loved him. Yeah. Great conversations. Elia, you go ahead.
Well, I know we could go on forever with anecdotes, but when Bobby said she was toasting him to the number of tours he gave, since some of us like roasting him as much as we like toasting him, I'm curious about, I've heard he was also banned from giving tours for a little while. And if that's true, I would be very interested in hearing what happens surrounding that. But if the mood is not to roast, then I'll respect that and find out privately.
I can answer that one because it broke his heart when he was asked not to.
Well, I'm sure it did, and I'm sorry about.
He had great enthusiasm for these tours and really looked forward to them. And there was a young couple there who decided to bring their Christian mother. And she was very Christian, and she became very upset hearing about Mayor Baba. And Ken, sometimes, as you talked about, wasn't able to read his audience. And he kept pounding on her about Mayor Baba. And
well,
she was,
if only he brought up Charles Darwin, they would have had it.
No. She was so upset, she complained. And of course, it caused a big thing in the community. So they said, Ken, you got to stop giving tours. He was heartbroken. In fact, he called me, and then he came over to my house, and he was just couldn't understand. But anyways, it all got resolved, and Ken was put back on tours. But of course, his health did prevent him in the end from, doing more.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, Pam. Thanks.
Yeah, I think, I was with Ken a lot as he got sicker and sicker. He got pretty grumpy and difficult, and I did stick with him. But he, I brought him food, and he said, if I wanted food, I would have called you. Then he got to the point of turning his phone off. And he said, well, if I need you, I'll call you. I said, Ken, you're driving me crazy to be so sick and not have your phone on. So he also put me in charge of stopping other people from visiting him and calling him. He got, I think he knew he was going, and he wanted to kind of retreat from the world. So a lot of people weren't aware of, how sick he was and in the troubles he was having. And I kind of did this protective stance in between him. I also, he gave me Jack Small to take care of because he had been looking out for Jack. So I had Ken and Jack to look out for. It was difficult at the end, and it was sad, but this has been so nice to hear this all today and relive some of these experiences. It was, I got called, I was making Thanksgiving dinner in the refectory. I was very worried he wasn't there. I had my cell phone, he didn't answer. I was trying to finish up so I could leave and go check on him. And my friend Astrid Volman went over to check on him and said he's laying on the floor in his apartment and I think he's gone. So I went over and he was laying right under the picture that Jim Whedon showed. I sort of had this idea that he had looked at the picture and then gone. It was, it was a very difficult experience. And Heidi McGovern, who was his neighbor across the street, came in and immediately started saying prayers. And it was difficult, and there was a coroner who said, you're going to have to step up of the way. We have to investigate this as a homicide. I was like, wait a minute, he passed when I was here, but I guess this is regular procedure. So I went through all the steps of calling a liar and talking to people in the community. But I remember wonderful support. Michael Siegel called me up and he was so wonderful. Jim Whedon called. It was wonderful to hear from these other people who loved Ken, and we all got together for his memorial service. Jim flew in from California. The Griffins came down from Massachusetts, and it was a wonderful supportive thing. And hearing everybody today has brought back so many good memories. And, that supersede the difficulties that occurred on the end. It's been very nice for me.
Beautiful, Pam. Beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for caring for two very important people in our community. Bill Cliff.
Hi, everybody. Bobby asked me to sing a song. Of course, it was kind of hard to figure out what kind of song Ken really liked, but I've got one I think that he really enjoyed whenever I did it. First, I want to just show you a couple of things here. This is the deluxe guest register purchased in the Ahmednagar Bazaar in the late 1970s. And throughout the 80s, everyone that came to Darwin's meetings and stayed overnight would stay here at Quayle Street in Albany. And it's filled with people's names. I'm sure you've all, been here. I just wanted to read and show you one, if I can find it here. This is Ken, an entry from Ken. I'll read it to you. And Bobby Bernstein is right underneath it. Ken was living in Elizabethtown, New York at the time, which is up in the Adirondacks. I think he was practicing at maybe a nonprofit agency up there. And anyway, this is what Ken wrote. Glad to enter my name into the deluxe, and he underlined the LUX register, to join the illustrious company of those broken down pieces of furniture who have arranged themselves here to do whatever they can to provide a room for his comfort. Thank you, Bill. Okay, innkeeper. And he was here for another Silence Day. And then he was also here, another one he signed in. He just signed in Ken Lux. And in comments, it said inexhaustible reality, which was just just kind of a neat thing for him to write. I also want to just pay tribute to, and I loved having discussions with Ken over the years. And again, everyone talked about his enthusiasm, and that was so catching. So in tribute to his suddenness about Baba's breaking his silence, I just read this the other night. 1941, Baba commented, "The breaking of my silence will also be as sudden and unexpected as the passing away of a Prasni Maharaj. The difference will, however, be in the general feeling, which will be very strong when I speak. All will feel it. It will shake the world like an earthquake." I can just see Ken rubbing his hands together reading this. "People will feel the shock in different degrees in different parts of the world. They will experience it in different ways. I'm not a suddenist. I'm a K Sarah Sarahist. K Sarah Sarah." Also, it's sort of a little coincidence. I think he would enjoy this. I have a YouTube page which is always sending me all sorts of interesting stuff. It just pops up. So I got this thing from an intuitive, a woman who's a pretty good intuitive from Germany, and she had a prediction. It will happen suddenly, and that something was going to overtake humanity June, July, or August of this year. So I kind of put that on the back burner. You know, I said, well, that's interesting because I kind of like her. And then I happened to be going to a funeral of a young high school sophomore who unfortunately died a very tragic death here in Albany, one of several in the month of May. And we were down in this poor South End, and the preacher was going on, and all of a sudden, and then the word came up, and he said, suddenly, we can't control what is going to happen to us suddenly. Things will just happen suddenly. And just that word kept coming up, so I could just see Ken sort of relating that. Anyway, I'm going to do a song. Like I said, I think Ken would like this, and did like it. A takeoff on the Everly Brothers song, Bye Bye Love, called Bye Bye Duality, which Ted Judson and I have done over the years. And whenever we sing it, we're not the Everly Brothers, we call ourselves the Heavenly Brothers. So this is for you, Ken. Bye bye duality, hello unity. I've caught their Bob's demand. Next stop, reality. I'm going to just capo it up one. My voice is a little low. So let me just capo it up. You can sing along the chorus. Bye bye duality, hello unity. I've caught Mayor Baba's demand. Next stop, reality. Bye bye duality, hello unity. I've caught Mayor Baba's demand. Next stop, reality. Next stop, reality. Arrivederci illusion. You're just a vacant dream. You only add confusion. Make me want to scream. Sayonara Maya. Get out of my life. You make a tempting shadow, but only cause me strife. Bye bye duality. Hello unity. I've caught Mayor Baba's demand. Next stop, reality. Next stop, reality. Sweet attain desire. You can only burn. Time to cool that fire. Toward the true light turn. Au revoir, oh ego. You think you're pretty here, but I'm heading where you can't. Gonna give you the slip. Bye bye duality, hello unity. I've caught Mayor Baba's demand. Next stop, reality. Next stop, reality. Adios, so gross, subtle mental too. I'm tired of hearing about your planes. I want that infinite view. So long, mind, you plagued me long enough. Time to meet your Mononosh. Baba's called your bluff. Bye bye duality, hello unity. I've caught Mayor Baba's demand. Next stop, reality. Bye bye duality, hello unity. I've caught Mayor Baba's demand. Next stop, reality. Next stop, reality. Next stop, reality. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba, that was great. Thank you so much. You know, I keep seeing things in the chat here from Ralph. So Ralph, I don't know, I don't see your face, but I see that you're on. Would you like to share anything? You'd have to unmute.
I don't think he has a microphone.
Well, I see the mic, so I don't know. Maybe not, huh? All right. And Jeff, did you have something? Mr. Wolverton?
Well, can you hear me all right?
Just great.
Well, back in, I guess, the late 60s, early 70s, around 1970, Ken Rickstad and I somehow just wound up in Schenectady. And we looked up this elderly couple that we heard about that had met Baba. And of course, it turned out to be Darwin and Jean Shaw. And so we, after spending a very powerful afternoon with them, we decided, why don't we just move here? And so next thing we knew, we were living in Schenectady. And of course, there were a number of people going to Darwin and Jean's meetings. They were very powerful. I mean, that house was, it was like filled with Baba's presence. And so, Ken and so we had the meetings on Saturday night, but then after a while, Ken was living over in Albany nearby, started having these Wednesday night meetings too. And these meetings took place on the floor of the kitchen. And they were very, and it was music and talks. And I mean, I think of Ken as like a portable Baba meeting. Wherever he went was a Baba meeting. And they were very informal, and people would kind of drift in and all of that. And one of them, one day, Bobby Bernstein, who's just visiting or going to see Ken's roommate upstairs, she kind of comes by and she's sitting there on the edge of this little circle of gathering, and and she kind of got into it, and we did music and everything, and next thing she became a Baba person. And also there was earlier on, I don't know if she's still here, Jane Petrowski. Let me just see if she's here. She was here a little earlier.
I missed her. That's too bad.
Another one of those casualties. And there were a lot of people that came to Baba. I mean, some Baba people somehow just have that role of interesting people, getting people interested in Baba. And he was one of them. But anyway, I was there for a year in Schenectady, and then we went to India, Ken Rickstead and I, and we came back from India, and we didn't have a place to stay. So we wound up, believe it or not, sleeping on the floor of this kitchen for a year. I mean, and we just kind of move our stuff aside for the Baba meetings on Wednesdays. So, I mean, he was so generous. I don't even know whether we even paid for our stay there. I kind of think we didn't. But, we had just a great time and wonderful meals together and everything. And then I eventually moved down to Myrtle Beach. Somehow, Kitty kind of arranged that. And Myrtle Beach back then, this is the early 70s, it was a little bit, there were kind of norms about what you talked about. There were some kind of taboos. And after being around Ken, and even college, I mean, we talked about everything. So I was kind of hamstrung about just being able to talk about anything. And I would wait until Ken would come down to Myrtle Beach, because we could sit down and talk about anything. Psychic phenomenon, Baba's discourses. You could talk about, the breaking of the silence, conspiracy theories, anything went. I mean, limitless. He was like Lynn Ott, limitless subject matter. He wasn't put off by, oh, we shouldn't be talking about that. You know what I mean? He just didn't have that. But it was, I think of the beautiful thing that Kitty used to say, the word enthusiasm means to be inhabited by God. Theo, meaning God. And he was really, he and Lynn Ott, I think of them as having inspired intellects. They weren't just intellectual, they had an inspired intellect. It's lit up. They're looking at a much wider field than most intellectuals. But anyway, he's a dear, dear friend and so generous. And yeah, we really loved him. And he was a great guy to talk with. You never had to prepare anything. I didn't to be with him. There was no protocol, no formalities, just show up. You show up and he shows up and you got a Baba meeting just like that. Anyway. Oh, here's Nan too.
Just before Ken came the first time for me down to Myrtle Beach, and Jeff said, oh, this is a guy you can talk to about everything. And I grew up in a very intellectual family, and my dad was an economist and a spy and a political scientist, both my parents. Anyways, it was just refreshing for me to have similarly a Baba person who didn't have this thing of, oh, I can only read Baba, I can only think Baba. No, I could talk to him about politics, everything. And he introduced me, I won't go into the details, but you know, I'm also you could say a conspiracy. He told me all about 9/11. He showed me films. We sent each other lots of information. We kept up that interest. I didn't participate in the group that was here very long, but we knew we had that shared interest and other shared interests. And I stayed with him once for a week in Maine. That was really special. And because of him, I know Elia, who I think is the cat's pajamas. And anyway, so I was just very grateful. I regret I didn't spend more time with Ken in the last few years, but I always knew, like, if I was struggling on some, you know, how can this be happening in the world kind of thing, especially in the political realm, I could talk to Ken about it and he could kind of help me sit with it more comfortably, you know, with it and Baba at the same time. And there was nothing that I could say that was going to be too far out or outrageous. And we didn't have to agree about everything either. But I'm very thankful. He showed me some amazing films. He introduced me to some fascinating books. Yeah, so I'm very
and not only that, but Elia
stayed with my mom, lived at my mom's. She rents us out room, and that was just great for me, knowing I'm going to go visit my mom. That Elia was going to be there, and he was great with my mom and with her whole. She had a little commune, her whole crew, and that was wonderful.
And what Elia was there for.
I got to chime in here. I'm sorry. The debt's the other way on that one. I have a big debt towards Nan for, I became broke in Boston, and thanks to Nan and Nan's mom, Fiora, who deserves one of these many times, by the way. Nan's mother lived to be 99 years old and is an incredibly special person, and Jeff knows her too. Anyway, I have a major debt to Nan because I was didn't really have a good roof to put my head under for my last few years in Boston. I found one thanks to her. So I'm glad I got the chance to say that.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Thank you.
So sweet.
I would like to thank Nan for her support when Ken passed, because we were worried about Elias seeing the apartment because Ken had been so sick. And together, Nan and I had a big cleaning session and got a lot of things done so that when Elia came, he had a place to stay. And I remember your thoughtfulness and your hard work. And I want to thank you.
Thanks.
Boy, it really is a community. It takes a community. It's wonderful. Thank you, Jeff and Nan and Eli and Pam. And Pam, Danny have their hands up. Thanks for being patient.
You're quite welcome. I just wanted to put in a few cents worth here. Our group at a beginning, our Tampa Bay group came through the link was Ken Lux, because when he was in medical school, Dr. Tom Decker was also a student in the same school, and they met, and he asked Dr. Decker to, would you like to go have some coffee? And he was a very enthusiastic young guy, and Tom said, yeah, sure. And so they met, and had a cup of coffee together, and so the subject of Avatar came up, and Ken said, have you ever heard the term Avatar? And Tom was like, no, I haven't. What is it? And he said, the descent of God into human form. And so they, talked about Meher Baba, and shortly thereafter, Tom became a Baba lover, and his brother Charlie actually was one of the links that brought us, Danny and me, to Baba, because he heard us singing a song that Baba gave me called Stinking Garbage. So I woke up one morning with this song playing in my head, and it was called Stinking Garbage. And he said, oh, I want you to play that for a guy that's coming from India. And I was like, what? You want me to play that for a holy man from India? A stinking garbage? So, you know, we got to meet Bao Kalchuri in 1993, played that song for him. And I recognized I was a seeker for many years and realized that Baba was who he said he was from listening to Bao Kalchuri. And so we Dr. Tom and John Welshon started this group in Tampa in 1972. And it's been going on since then. Very strong group here, great group. Just everyone, we get along so well, and there's so much harmony and so much devotion to Baba. We have weekly meetings, and we've hosted group meetings for more than 25 years in our place. And we've had a whole bunch of notables, including Bao Kalchuri. We had Alaba, Rusaman Sarab, Dara Irani, Dr. Morty, Mr. Sharma, Leela, and Mr. and Mrs. Leela and A.K. Kasturi, Diana and Bill LePage, and I could go on and on. I mean, we've had so many wonderful people visit our group, and we have such a wonderful group, and all of that leads back to the initial contact with Ken Lux talking to Dr. Tom Decker. So we feel greatly indebted to Ken Lux. And I only met him one time at the center, and he was, I think, in a deep depression at the time. And I came up to him and I said, "Are you Ken Lux?" And he seemed so excited, you know, that someone recognized him. He was sitting alone in the meeting place. And I said, "I love your book, The Avatar of the Tortoise." And I told him, you know, I'm part of the Tampa Bay group, and, you know, Dr. Tom Decker and all that. And he just seemed so thrilled to have someone, you know, give him that recognition. And so I think it's wonderful that you all are recognizing him and having this birthday party for him. So that's all I have to say, but thank you for letting me say my little piece there.
Beautiful, Pam. And, you know, there's a request now for Stinking Garbage, but Michael Siegel is waiting. And, you know, if you'd like to do it, we'd love to hear it. So let me get with Michael and we'll come back and see. Go ahead, Michael.
So we have to leave soon because the girls are coming over. Just wanted to say share an observation that Ken lived this life and left this life on his own terms. And no matter what everybody else wanted. That's all. We have to leave now. Thank you for doing
this. That's beautiful.
I think I'm going to duck out too, and I feel I should say goodbye as well. And most importantly, thank everyone for doing this. And this is recorded, so if I want, is that right? So if I wanted to go back and find out what I missed, I can do it. So thanks to everyone. I feel like I'm going to fail my obstetrics rotation right now. Birthday. So I better go try to not, I'm really concerned about this exam I got coming up. So I'm going to butt out, and thanks so much for everyone. It was great seeing you all.
Great to see you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. And I'm sorry.
Happy birthday. Bye-bye.
Happy birthday.
I'm sorry I haven't kept
Happy birthday, Eli.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Well, I think we're at the end. I don't see any hands up. Pam, if you wanted to sing for us, we could certainly. No, that's okay.
That song is very difficult to do without a rhythm section because it's a calypso tune. It relies heavily on drums, and we had a drum machine, and it was a song that Baba, you know, brought us to him by, and it was a key phrase from one of when Bao would do his speaking tours. He would say, "Give your stinking garbage to Baba. He is the ocean. He can absorb it." You know, so that's how stinking garbage came into play. But it's not a real, you know, Baba song per se. It's what we brought us to Baba, but the words aren't, you know, I mean, at the time I wasn't a Baba lover. It was 1980 and it was only 1993 that we actually played it for Bow. So it was a song that brought us a lot of popularity, but it wasn't per se a Baba song. So
perhaps some other time we'll get lucky and hear it if you get the drums going.
Okay.
It's not a stinking song. It's very good.
I believe.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
You have another song.
Oh, Pam.
I don't think we have one right now, Jeff, but thank you.
You know how we are. We're just always hungry for music. So sweet, Pam. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Why don't you sing one, Ruthie?
My guitar's in the other room. You know how that is.
Yeah.
Bobby, do you have something for us?
I was afraid you were going to ask, but I didn't. But I didn't prepare.
How about Nan and Jeff?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, they're moving around. This
Okay.
is
We'll give it a shot.
Good.
Thank you, sweetheart.
But in the meantime, anyone else? I think there some people were there at the 69 Darshan, and I know that Ken was. So any of those people feel like chiming in? I think Marion Lewis was at the 69 Darshan. I don't know if she saw Ken.
I see her name, but no microphone.
Okay.
Hi. This is Marion, and I won't take up much time, as I think we went on different dates. I was in the June trip, and I think Ken was in the May one, I think. And we were friends here in New York and couldn't keep up. We kind of went in different directions, but that close, heartfelt connection was always there with Ken, always. So I don't have more to share right now. So thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marion.
I've got it right here. We'll do it right here. Yeah.
Oh, you have the words?
No. We're getting there.
It can take a moment.
Can I
Yeah,
say
go
something?
ahead, Bobby. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that in the last years of his life, I don't know how long it was, but like from diabetes and other illnesses that he had, he was, grumpy, or he seemed morose or sad or whatever, but it was really from kind of a dementia that he had. I didn't find that he was, it was kind of a superficial thing because of his illnesses. But I don't think, I wouldn't characterize him as sad. It's just that it was part of an illness.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah.
As we're getting older, we need to be aware of some of these things.
Yeah. He still he liked to go to, concerts, even during that time, went out different concerts and events, and, he just kept chugging along. Yeah. Until he couldn't.
The big brother.
Yeah, my Baba bro, I used to call him, my spiritual brother.
Well, here's Jeff and Nan.
Okay. Let us know if you can hear that guitar.
I'll play as loud as I can. Can you hear the guitar?
Yes, we can.
How was I to know what kind of love I'd find? Fate could be cruel, love could be blind. I took the strangest turns, but destiny was kind. I wouldn't change a thing after all this time.
No right or wrong, no cut and dry, no weak or strong, no do or die, no night or day, no yours or mine, only you and I. After all this time, I've come along a little at a time. Days turn to years, years turn to life, and I have tried to trade the reasons for the rhyme. And I've learned to love after all this time. No right or wrong, no cut and dry, no weak or strong, no do or die, no night or day, no yours or mine, only you and I. After all this time.
How was I to know what kind of love I'd find?
Till you touched my soul and you touched mine.
Now when I see my heart reflected in your eyes,
I wouldn't change a thing after all this time.
No right or wrong,
No cut and dry, no
weak or strong, no do or die, no night or day, no yours or mine, only you and I. After all this time,
only you and I. After all this time, only you and I.
After all this time.
Why don't we take a moment of silence together? Jay Baba, if you those that would like to unmute, we'll all say a key J together.
Guitar, Meher Baba, Ki Jai. Guitar, Meher Baba, Ki Jai. Meher Baba, Ki Jai.
Everyone, just
thank you, Ruthie, so much.
Yeah, thanks, Ruth. That was so much.
And thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you,
Bobby.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby,
Thank you all,
Ruthie, and everyone.
Welcome and thank you all.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Ken Lux.
Jeff, that you sang, Ralph was asking in the chat.
Yeah. The song?
Yeah.
After All This Time by Cindy Lowe.
Oh,
yeah.
Cindy Lowe.
Sorry about that. I just kind of overcome by,
We love you, Jeff.
Beautiful song.
well, by Ken too.
I hear that.
Peter, thank you for all you contributed. It was wonderful. Wonderful to hear you. I was really enjoyed my conversations with you, and this has been just so meaningful to me.
Yeah,
So,
thank you, Ken. Absolutely, thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, Peter.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Well,
Ken.
So,
Thank you, Peter.
Maybe he showed up.
Thanks
His
for doing
birthday.
this. You guys are great, and stay well, and let's do this again whenever we can. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Peter. Thanks.
Thanks, Peter. And good to see you, Barry and Pamela.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Peter, I was glad you got to say your
Nancy
part
and-
about saying Kaddish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very
Yes,
nice.
that was
nice.
That was
Can
good.
someone share a photograph of him? Because I'm not sure I met him or not. You know, Ken.
We showed, yeah, we had a video at the beginning.
Yeah, I missed it. Well, I can rewatch this. It's okay.
Ruthie, can you give me permission to share screen? I've got 2 or 3 pictures of him.
Oh, yeah, please do. Wait a minute. There you go. Go ahead, Chris.
What?
This picture, where is it?
It's empty.
So this is Ken. I think this is one of the Darshan 69 Darshan anniversary programs at the Mayhair Center.
Yes, it is.
And so Ken is in the backyard of the Ott's house.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, clear.
Yeah. Let's see if I can move through these photographs here.
Thank you.
I've got, here's another one.
That looks like that's perfect.
They kept talking.
He was passionate about something. He was, whatever he was talking about, he was passionate about it.
You moved it and you put it over here. I can't.
Homeland Security.
It shows the Indian chief.
Right.
Yeah, Geronimo and Red Cloud and.
I think it says providing security since 1492.
Yeah.
No, losing security after 1492.
Those are the pictures that I've got of Ken right there.
Oh, nice. I have a nice one here. Can you all see it?
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
I think this is
Kenmore,
probably 80s, 1985.
Oh, wow.
I have it framed and I have it in my house.
Beautiful.
You don't have any pictures of him.
Beautiful.
Pam, thanks for all your stories about Ken. Stories.
Yeah, it was wonderful to talk about Ken, and it was really wonderful to hear all these things.
Yeah.
Hard to leave. Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Jim, great, beautiful.
Everybody there,
Thank you.
the 69 Darshan, the last one that Ken was at, one of the things that was so amazing, and he was very involved in organizing it, is that when they talked about the 69 Darshan, their whole countenances became these younger people. And they it's like all of their, it was fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. It was like all their adult offenses fell off their faces. And it was like, I wasn't around here in 69, I didn't know any of the people. And I just saw these young people talking about this amazing experiences. It was so, anyway, he was very, and I said to Ken at the time, I said, we can't wait another 10 years. A lot of people are going to be dead. We got to do this in 5 years. I mean, it didn't happen, but I was right. A lot of people died between those two times. But it was so beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful times I saw in the center was that time when everyone was talking about their young experiences.
Yeah.
Well, happy Father's Day, everybody.
Hey, hi, Marcia. Happy Father's Day. Jay Baba.
And summer solstice, too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up. Lots of stuff happening.
Yeah. Jay Baba.
Jay Baba. Thank you.
Nice seeing all of you.
So good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Baba.